Welcome to today's Community Cast. My name is Matt Morgan. I'm the pastor at Community Brookside, a new church plant in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We are so blessed by your presence, and we hope that today's content will bring you joy.
Hi guys, my name is good. Let's make some noise. Yes, our first podcast.
Start
my name
over.
is this is our take. My name is Gage Gibson. I'm the worship director here at Community Brookside, and I'm joined with our pastor Matt Morgan. Say hi.
Hello.
Perfect. and so we're just going to be talking a little bit about Community Cast, what we are, and our roles in this. So typically each week I'm going to be the producer. I'll be typically behind the scenes, but I might join for once in a while. And Matt is going to be our interrogator / instigator. So he'll be the one talking to people about relevant issues and things that you want to hear.
Or irrelevant issues and things you don't want to hear about, but you're going to hear about anyway.
So let's talk a little bit about who we are. As a church.
As a church, perfect. So, Community Brookside is a new church plant. We just officially celebrated our 1-year anniversary last Sunday. So that was October 27th. So we began as a worshiping community in October of 2018, October 28th to be exact. And we are a church plant by the Oklahoma Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, and we are affiliated with First United Methodist Church, Tulsa.
Man, that was solid.
It's a lot of words.
How about a more technical question? Who is Matt Morgan?
Oh, geez. So I am a United Methodist through and through. I was born on the front pew of St. Mark's United Methodist Church here in Tulsa, and got my call into ministry when I was a freshman in high school. I'd gone to church my whole life and didn't really, it wasn't until later that I realized I had no idea who the person of God was and the role that God played in my life. So when I was, between the ages of 14 and 15 years old, God became real to me through worship, like a modern worship in our youth group. And it was from that moment on, I knew that God was calling me into ministry in the United Methodist Church.
That's awesome. Yeah. And a little bit about me. I've been a Methodist.
Hang on, I didn't ask about you. Let me ask
start
about
over.
you.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, Gage, now that you know a little bit about me, can you tell me a little bit about you?
Oh my goodness, someone's asking. So, my name is Gage Gibson again, and I was born May 5th. No, that's too much. I was born basically
on the beach,
basically in First United Methodist Church downtown, and I've been there every Sunday for years. And I was able to meet a lot of great people there, and have a lot of great mentors. And that's what got me into music. Is there was a guy there who took me under his wing, learned some music, became the band director, and then got invited to come here and be the worship director. So that's who I am.
And so what musical instruments do you play?
Yes.
Okay.
All of them.
The tambourine is his specialty?
No, I play mostly guitar and piano, and so those are my strengths. And actually, Matt plays guitar pretty well as well.
Moderately okay.
That's what all the pros say. They're like, yeah, I dabble.
Yeah, except for the pros are being humble. I'm being, realistic. No, I'm being realistic. Like I am moderately okay. Like I'm not the worst guitar player. I'm certainly nowhere near the best, but
and that's what our church is for, is to show off our guitar playing. Let's seriously talk about what do we talk about? What do we preach about? What's our message?
That's a great question. So here's the situation. Growing up United Methodist, one of the things that I felt in my calling that God was reminding me of was the fact that most Sunday mornings, church was not about God. It was about who's sitting in what pew, who went to church that morning, what people are wearing. Yeah. It became very clear to me at a young age that God cared more about our church than we cared about God. And so one of the things that I'm really striving for as a pastor in this new church plant is to connect our community with God and each other. Yeah. I think it's invaluable. Church has moved from old time hymns and gospel songs in the 50s, 60s, 70s to the 80s and 90s, where it became quote unquote what was it? Contemporary Christian is the word, right? And so we had the worship wars that happened in the 90s, and some churches, and especially in rural places in Oklahoma, are still having those battles of what's more appropriate, hymns or gospel or contemporary Christian hymns and music. To now we're moving into this what's called a modern worship style, where just people are going full out, just praising God with their hands lifted high and just fully engaged bodily in worship. And there's still these conversations about what's appropriate and what's not.
Yeah.
And so for us as a church, I want us to just fully engage what God is doing. I want us to be a very spiritual church, a church that focuses on what God is doing in our lives and how we as members of this community can be involved in each other's lives in a positive way also. So that's kind of what we're about. Now, I want to be very clear that we talk specifically about relevant issues that are facing the church, facing, people. I want you, Gage, if you come into my building, first of all, I want you to understand every single word that I say.
Absolutely.
So you're not going to be hearing me talk about like a whole lot of sanctification or predestination or Christology or soteriology. Like I'm going to be talking to you with words that you will understand.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I speak about relevant topics so that when you leave church Sunday morning, you can apply what you heard in church right after you walk out the doors.
I will say something you do very well is you have almost a call to action, something practical in almost every sermon.
Right. So yesterday sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
How dare you?
Right. So yesterday when we were talking about the power of inviting, like what that looks like for us as people to invite people. And so we talked about how we do it appropriately. And my call for our people was invite. That's something that I feel like the church has kind of given up on, is inviting people to be a part of what God is doing in the church. And we talked about how sometimes we feel uncomfortable or we don't want to make others feel uncomfortable. Yeah. But even still, God is calling us to make disciples, not to just sit and enjoy what, we feel entitled to in the pew of a church.
Absolutely. It's not a concert that you go to. And
oh, no.
It's much more meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we have to remember, is this isn't a performance for people.
Oh, sure.
This is real.
Yeah. And that's perfect to bring up. Like one of the things I'm very clear on is that when you see me Sunday morning, I'm the exact same Matt Morgan you're going to see at a restaurant. I'm the exact same Matt Morgan that you'll see at my house. I might not be the exact same Matt Morgan that you see driving in my FJ in Tulsa traffic, but I try really hard to be the same person everywhere. Yeah. I don't pretend. I'm not, speaking in a weird voice. I'm me.
Yeah. And it's very real. That's
try to be. Yeah.
That's how people relate to this. And that's kind of what builds the community aspect, is that everyone who's coming on Sunday, we all know we're all broken, all hurt.
Yeah.
None of us are perfect, and none of us should care about that.
Yeah.
We should care about the community, not the gossip and who's there and who isn't. So, but real quick, I want to make a plug for future and previous podcasts. This podcast that we're doing is going to house a lot of things. So a lot of these will be podcasts like we're doing, where we're talking.
Yeah, just introductions, like who we are, what we're going to be working through. Yeah.
Absolutely, and topics and whatnot. Yeah. And also, we will be putting up Matt's sermon. So if you were wondering what he was talking about by the, I think we called it the power of one, the power of inviting, you'll be able to hear that whole sermon. And also, if you check us out on Facebook, another plug, shameless plug, facebook.com/community Brookside, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Hopefully. And then a bunch of numbers.
Otherwise, you're ending up at somebody else's church.
Yes. You'll be able to watch our services there every Sunday at 11 Central Time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we don't know.
Valid
Time in America. So
right. If you're in, Mexico listening to us, it's probably similar.
Yeah.
Central Time, Mexico.
No, but we're located Tulsa, Oklahoma, on Brookside, which is a really popular street. And that's what's cool about us, is we're kind of in the heart of Tulsa.
Well, and I would speak to that. Yeah. So we're in a place in Tulsa that looks very different from the majority of Oklahoma.
Oh,
so, Oklahoma is a very red state. We pride ourselves in being the reddest of the red states. And the strange thing about Brookside is we are in this weird eclectic place where there is just this really cool mix of people. And Brookside specifically is a part of Tulsa that's kind of blue. It's weird.
Yeah.
There are people here who are moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans who get along really well and, love government and love each other, which is strange in today's society. It's a really interesting challenge because we're trying to be a church that can speak to people of both sides.
Well, not only both sides of any political or anything like that, but we have everything.
Right.
We have, so at my house where I live, you walk 2 minutes one way and you are at places that were drug houses a few years ago where there were constant cop cars, gunshots. You walk 2 minutes the other way and there's a $5 million house. And it's ridiculous. It's the weirdest thing. And that's what Brookside is we are a collection of people that have no similarities except for we're people. Well, and we're living in a similar area.
Right. And I think that the people of Brookside legitimately love Brookside.
Oh, yeah.
So the people of Brookside pride themselves in being able to walk to their favorite kind of gourmet restaurants. They love being able to walk to places like Aberson's or Trader Joe's or, some of these really cool places that are oftentimes only in Brookside and Tulsa. Now, Trader Joe's is kind of the exception to that. They're worldwide. But, we have some great local artists. We have great local restaurants. We have incredible local breweries that brew and then have their beer in all the local taverns around here. Yeah. Brookside is a very cool place, and I promise if Brookside had a movie theater again, people would just never leave. Like they would,
absolutely.
They love to just live and work and play in Brookside, and so it's really kind of an honor for us to be a part of that. And we are doing our very best to honor what Brookside is and who we are as a church.
If you have an image of your head, in your head of Oklahoma being this like Farmingville type thing, come to Tulsa.
Right.
It's totally not. And you'll be surprised at how many people have that misconception in their head.
And even still, I will say that there's nothing wrong with farming. And I would say that is, just so we're clear, but that is very much a Western Oklahoma mentality. But here in Tulsa, we are very urban, just like in Oklahoma City. It's a very urban, up-and-coming, growing, very popular place.
Yeah, it's kind of like a small New York, but a lot slower, and we do sleep.
Small New York. That's an interesting jump you made there, Gage.
So, okay, but real quick. So if we were to have one message, one central theme that was like, here's our company policy statement, our, what do they call that? The... whatever it's called.
Sure.
Direction we're going. What's our statement? What's our battle cry?
I believe that our statement should be something like, you are worthy. Because, so often the church has stood against things and against groups of people and against policy and against social change. But we're going to be a church that stands for the people who come into our doors. We want to be about a community that looks like the kingdom of heaven. So we want to be a place that's safe for people of color, for people of different religious backgrounds, for people who have been hurt by the church, for people who are struggling with sexuality. We want to be a church that tells them that they are worthy to be loved by God because they were created in His image. Yeah.
That is so backwards that some churches just don't understand that. And that's where hurt is.
Right. And there is nothing like church hurt. And I don't know if you've ever been hurt by the church before, but I mean, I have seen people who have lost their entire faith because of something that one person said or did that just broke people. Yeah. And so we have to be very cautious of that. And so we want to make sure that we as a church are a place that we're not going to be judging you when you walk in the door. We're going to be recognizing that you're one of us, a broken person who is in need of the saving grace of Jesus.
Yeah. If you've ever been hurt by a church or kind of, I've heard people being called Satan at churches.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And if you've ever had experiences like that where you've been shunned out, I very much welcome and almost urge you to come to here. You will have a completely different experience.
Yeah. Test us.
Yeah, test us. Yeah. We would love that. So speaking of kind of our church, what is our kind of community made of? Who are they? And does it reflect our community as a whole?
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So, that's kind of a hard question to answer because we have a very diverse age range of folks that worship with us. I mean, we have people who are, we have lots of brand new babies. We have lots of young people in their mid-20s to early 30s. But we also have a couple folks who are in their upper 60s, mid to upper 60s. So, I mean, the vast majority of our folks are younger. I would say our average age is probably something like 38, maybe 39. Okay. So we, reflectively of our community, we are about the same age-wise in Brookside. However, we are not as racially diverse because United Methodism has not ever really been known for a church that has been for people of color.
Yeah.
And, we're going to do a podcast with Michael Long, one of our, he's actually appointed to us at Community Brookside, but he is what's called a Path 1 resident. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the mistrust that there is racially when you talk about Methodism, and that rolls all the way back to the race massacre of 1921. And so we recognize that there needs to be a lot of healing before we can honestly begin to look more like our community.
Absolutely.
We're a church mostly filled with Anglo white people.
Yeah.
But that's not who we want to be long term.
No.
We do very much want to represent what Tulsa is.
Yeah. And one thing that we want to make clear is we aren't saying that being a white man or a white woman is bad and we don't want you. We just want more. We want more people.
Well, if we believe that the kingdom of heaven
is diverse,
looks like the world around us, right? So we're made up of 7.5 billion different people on different continents doing different things, and we all look differently. Yeah, of course we want to look like the kingdom of heaven in our church too.
Absolutely. And that's something that we all strive for. And I think that's a great goal. And so speaking of goals, the smooth transition. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it would be awesome to talk about what you're doing as outreach in the community and just events that we're hosting.
So again, one of the things that we recognize is these churches have built these incredible structures with stained glass windows and really thick walls and really heavy doors. Yeah. And so sometimes those doors don't stay open very well.
No.
And so we want to be a church that has totally open doors. So we are super duper graced and blessed because we have the property that's known as Brookside Collective. So it's at 37th Place in Peoria, and it's the park that's there that we've got, kind of this raised berm. We're working on putting a stage in. We're working on, actually Wednesday, they're bringing in new child play equipment.
That's so exciting.
I cannot wait. But this is a place that has no gates. It has no fences. It's a place for families to come and play together. Yeah. So we as a church host all kinds of cool events. For instance, was it last week? I'm trying to figure. It was last Saturday. We hosted Boo Ha Ha up and down Brookside, right? So Brookside does this 29 years is how long they've been doing it. They host this kind of Halloween. It's been traditionally a parade, but now this year we didn't have the funds to do a parade, so we basically did a huge 3-mile long carnival, right? Yeah. So we had bouncy houses and face painting and free food and candy for everybody and all these great things up and down Brookside. And so at Community Brookside, as a part of Community Brookside, we sponsored what was called a kid zone down at our park, Brookside Collective. And so we had probably 2,000 people out there that day who got to just see us be people who are normal people who love children and families. But, we do movie nights, we do splash days when it gets hot in Oklahoma, and dear Lord, it gets hot in Oklahoma in the summer. We had Tulsa's longest slip and slide this summer. I only hurt myself a little bit on that. But yeah, we just do all kinds of things to show people that the church is for them. Like we don't want to be separated from the people of the world. We want them to realize that we are in this together. Yeah. And so as open as we can be, that's who we are.
Yeah. Church doesn't end on Sundays.
No.
And that's something that has been, I'm going to say, wrong with our church and our church culture.
Church. You say our church, you mean the church.
The church and the church culture is we end on Sundays. After 12, we're out. Right. And I'm going to go be a completely different person, live my life. And on Sunday, I'll get dressed up again. Right. And this cycle continues. That's not what we want to be. We want to be in constant community and relation with one another. To bring glory to God and to make us stronger.
Yeah, I believe our faith should inform every single thing that we do.
Absolutely.
Everything, from the way we vote to the way we treat our families to the way we love our children to everything. How we treat our neighbors. I think our faith should inform all of that.
Absolutely. So what are some goals for the future? What are we hoping to do?
Well, so right now we are worshiping upstairs at 38th and Peoria. So it's kind of weird to think about. Most churches are usually have their own facility, and we are renting a space above a Pilates studio.
Can we talk about what the space was real quick?
Oh, geez.
It's so fun.
All right. So when we talk about redemption, like the word redemption is something that you're not going to hear me speak a lot of on Sunday morning, just because it's a big word that means, being made worthy again, right? So this place used to be a strip club.
Yep.
When the owner of this building bought this building in 1999, he said there were a number of tenants. And one of them, in the place that we have rented from him, used to be a strip club. And so it wasn't, let's be clear, it wasn't whenever we began to rent the space. So it had, whenever he came in, he basically evicted all the tenants and did a lot of work on the building. did some remodeling and whatnot. And anyway, so the strip club, I mean, I just can't imagine what that looked like upstairs, like people probably stumbling out of it, at 2 a.m. and like how...
Those are some steep stairs.
They are
to stumble
steep
down.
stairs, for sure. But anyway, so this place used to be a strip club. And we, right now, actually after it was a strip club, I'm sure it was a number of things, but when we rented the space, it had sat empty for 18 months.
Yeah.
And before we rented the space, it was a graphic design studio for casino signage. So this place, the design studio that was here, did casino signs all around the world. And so we are super excited that we're able to kind of redeem this space, like from a place that, potentially was marriage ending, right? If you're a man who goes to a strip club, it's not healthy. No. I mean, we're talking about objectification of women. We're talking about alcoholism. We're talking about all the things that we tend to expect with a strip club. And we have been able to basically tear down walls in this place and repaint and retexture and do a lot of things that have brought a lot of redemption to this space. And the cool thing about it, and I talk about it all the time when we talk about the building, the floor has cracks in it, right? Mm-hmm. The windows have cracks in them. There's plaster falling off the walls in some places. Like there's been leaks. There's been problems in the space. And as we have kind of rebuilt the space, we've left those things intentionally. Yeah. There's some theology in there that I love. It's the fact that this building, it was built perfectly, right? It was built to spec. They had somebody design it, and it was intended to be something that was really cool and really good. But after a while, things begin to settle, and if you don't take care of it, then things begin to dilapidate, and paint falls off the wall, and you have ceiling leaks and all those things, and cracks begin to develop. Well, the same is true of us. Yeah. If we are not taking care of ourselves spiritually, then we begin to develop these cracks that become fissures and then eventually begin to destroy us if we're not careful.
Absolutely.
And so as we walk into this place, I want people to look around and see, gosh, there's some flaking paint. There's a crack right down the middle of our sanctuary floor. There's a broken window at the front of the space. Like, I can relate to that because I am also a broken person.
Yeah.
Right? And if this place can be filled with broken pieces of, concrete and wood and glass, then by God, we should fill it with broken people who need those cracks and those crevices mended.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I want to also be clear, this is not a dilapidated place.
It's not. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. We've worked very, very hard to convert it. We spent about 4 months breaking down walls and putting up countertops and repainting and ripping down ceilings and taking out old, really dark brown carpet. Like, I don't know who designed that, but that was terrible.
And just like us, it looks great. The space looks great, but
really
you look
cool
close and you do see flaws. Mm-hmm. And that's just like us. Yep. We are people.
Oh, for some of us, you don't even have to look close.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For me, there's no extreme examination needed. Like, I'm broken, I'm flawed, and you don't have to look close to find those things.
But through that, you're able to see God. If we were perfect, we wouldn't need it.
Right. You're right.
And thank God we aren't, and thank God we need him, honestly.
Right.
A lot less pressure on us. So let's wrap this up and just talk about if you guys have any future questions or things that you would like to discuss or anything like that, you can find us on Facebook. Just send us a message. And Matt's phone number is...
No, let's not.
And also you can find us, what's our address?
1307 East 38th Street.
I need to memorize that.
So the hard part is, and again, because we are sitting upstairs of a Pilates studio, Google and Apple Maps sometimes send you to the wrong direction. So if you ever need anything, you can just send us a message on Facebook. You can email me, pastor@communitybrookside.com. It's super easy to remember, hard to type in to get it spelled right. Again, thank you so much for joining us on this kind of journey. I hope that the things that Gage and I and other guests talk about really reach you spiritually and really connect you to kind of who we are and our desire for God to work in and through us. So thank you for joining us today, Gage. Thanks for the thoughtful questions. And we'll just wrap it up, and we'll see you guys on our next episode. Thank you so much for joining us on today's Community Cast. We hope that you were blessed by today's conversation. If you'd like to know more about Community Brookside, please feel free to visit us at our website, communitybrookside.com, or find us on your favorite social media outlet. We hope to hear from you soon. Be blessed.